Treasure games on the Genesis were awesome. Even as a kid, seeing that logo meant quality. So, first thing I'll be doing today is talking a little bit about the formation of Treasure, and then I'll be showcasing the 6 games that released on the Genesis. Now please do consider liking and subscribing. I am trying to grow this channel if possible. Alright, so sit back and relax. Let's go!
Treasure Video Games was founded on June 19, 1992. The president Masato Maegawa was a former employee of Konami. In a GameFan interview, Maegawa said he was frustrated with Konami's over-reliance on sequels. He felt that people wanted original titles. Maegawa presented his idea for Gunstar Heroes to superiors at Konami. He was told no, that won't sell. Maegawa left Konami and took some staff with him, then formed Treasure. According to Masato Maegawa, the name comes from wanting to be a treasure to the industry. They decided to develop for Sega. Sega said they didn't have a proven track record, so they didn't decide to publish Gunstar Heroes. Sega did, however, give them a game to develop, McDonald's Treasure Land Adventure. Sega for some reason had a deal with McDonald's. While developing McDonald's Treasure Land Adventure, Treasure was given the green light on Gunstar Heroes by Sega. They split into 2 teams to work on both games. Treasure Land Adventure was completed first, but Treasure wanted to release Gunstar Heroes first. Gunstar Heroes was first released in Japan on September 10, 1993. The rest of us all got it in the same month. Gunstar Heroes is a run-and gun similar to Contra. This game, however, is very original and a timeless classic. You play as one of 2 characters. I think their names are Red and Blue. Honestly, I can't remember where I heard that. I might have made it up when I was a kid. These 2 are the Gunstars. They're trying to stop M. Bison and his evil empire from collecting 4 gems. When my friends and I were kids, we thought M. Bison was in the game. Street Fighter 2 came out about 2 years before this. The 2 characters have 2 different ways of shooting. The first one can run and shoot at the same time. The second one with the headband stands still while firing his weapon. Both can fire in 8 directions. It's just one runs and shoots, while the other aims in one position. Both can be useful in different situations. I personally prefer running and gunning. I'm sure most players do. After choosing a character, there are 4 weapons to choose from. Gunstar Heroes has a really cool feature that lets you mix 2 weapons together. For instance, mixing homing laser makes a homing laser. The 2 can also throw enemies, and in some cases punch. Enemies come in droves. Then there's explosions everywhere. The game keeps itself fresh by constantly changing things up, including a stage with cars riding on train tracks, and a board game. The board game drags on for a while though. Then these bosses are just all over the place. Half the time I'm not even sure what it is that I'm fighting, and I don't mean any of this in a bad way. Gunstar Heroes is one hell of a great looking game too. Hard to believe it was made by a group that primarily worked on SNES games. The game also had a Game Gear port. This game really showed off what the Genesis could do in terms of sound and graphics. It's just a fun time. If you haven't played it in a while, give it a try. It's available everywhere on almost everything. McDonald's Treasure Land Adventure was first released in Japan on September 23, 1993. Next released in PAL territories on October 1993, and then in North America in December 1993. In this McDonald's game, you play as Ronald McDonald. Now this clown mascot was really big back in the day. When I was a kid, McDonald's had playgrounds with slides and swings and merry-go-rounds. There were statues, I guess, of Ronald McDonald and his friends there. Characters like the Hamburglar, Grimace, and Mayor McCheese. Why am I talking about this? Well, these characters aren't around anymore, and they're all in this game. Ronald finds a piece of a treasure map and then heads off. The game automatically sets the difficulty to beginner. To get the most out of this game, you're gonna have to bump that difficulty up. Ronald attacks with his magic. He also has a scarf to grapple onto different spots littered around stages. Now the surprising thing is, this game is actually pretty good. There are little shops around that have health and extra lives and that kind of stuff. Then sometimes the doors have an extra puzzle game bonus stage. This actually isn't bad. Stages all have great design. They're bright and colorful. There are lots of different types of enemies with different types of attacks. Once again, Treasure made one of the best looking games on the Genesis. Bosses require you jumping into their attack to damage them, something like that. This game really has some weird stuff in it. McDonald's Treasure Land Adventure just really shows that Treasure took all their games they developed seriously. This is actually a very fun game worth checking out. Dynamite Heti was first released in Japan on August 5th, 1994. Next released in North America on September 28th, 1994. Then in PAL territories on October 28th, 1994. Heti attacks with his head. His head launches in 8 different directions. Heti also collects power-ups to change his head and body. Some examples are an iron head, a vacuum head, turning into an outline, and shrinking. The game has this really cool puppet stage show theme. There's even a backstage fight. Just like Gunstar Heroes, this game is a Genesis classic. Graphically, it looks even better than Treasure's previous 2 titles. Then there's this tutorial town with challenges to complete. This game begins with Heti and his friends on the run from a robot that's kidnapping them. There's this cat that Heti battles as a boss continuously throughout the adventure. Once again, this game is filled with crazy bosses. I haven't mentioned the music in these games yet. They all have great tunes. Treasure really knew how to rip that Genesis sound chip. The Genesis was capable of great music, but it could also be really bad. Treasure stayed away from the twangy noises the Genesis makes in some games. Dynamite Heti is a fast-paced adventure with solid gameplay. It's a difficult game, but it's just like a lot of games from the time. It gets easier the more you play it. This game is on a lot of collections and it's very easy to get your hands on. I definitely recommend it if you've never played it or if it's just been a while. Yu Yu Hakusho Makyo to Itsusen was released in Japan on September 30th, 1994. It was also released in Brazil in 1999. Yu Yu Hakusho is one of my favorite animes of all time. It's up there with Dragon Ball Z for me. The story follows middle school delinquent Yusuke Urameshi in his battle against the demon world. The manga was created by Yoshiro Togashi. He also created Hunter x Hunter and is married to Naoko Takauchi, the creator of Sailor Moon. I first played this back when I started messing with emulators back in high school. 16-bit anime fighting games don't have the best reputation. However, this is Treasure we're talking about. Remember, they made a Ronald McDonald game where the worst thing about it is that it stars Ronald McDonald. The game is set close to the end of the series. The game features all the major characters up to Sensui. Most of the Dark Tournament fighters are missing besides Chu and Jin. When I played this game for this video, I had no real memory of it. I really wasn't expecting much, but man was I pleasantly surprised. Honestly, my son and I had a lot of fun with this one. We also had a lot of fun with Gunstar Heroes. It's just that only 2 of these games are 2 players. My son's also seen the anime, so there was a lot of in-character trash talk. This fighting game is set on 2 planes. The foreground and background can quickly be jumped to, similar to games like Fatal Fury and the later Treasure beat-em-up Guardian Heroes. This game has a few different modes of play. 1 vs 1 arcade mode, 1 vs 1 exhibition, 2 vs 2 battles, and 4-man battle royals. Well, 4-person battle royals since the game only has 1 female, a DH Genkai. There's also a practice mode in there, and you can also do 3-man battle royals if you want to. The really cool thing about this game is the multi-person battles. The action can get crazy with fighters flying across the arena knocking into other characters. All of the fighters in this game share the same button combinations to pull off special moves. Some only work with a few characters, like rapidly pushing one of the attack buttons with Yusuke unleashes a flurry of punches, while Kuwabara doesn't have a rapid pushing move. Up there with each character's life meter is their spirit energy bar. This depletes with each special attack. To fill it back up, they have to power up. All of the characters besides Yusuke and his master Genkai have their own unique moves. Genkai and Yusuke play very differently though. The game's like a proto Smash Brothers. It's like someone at HAL Laboratories played this and said, hey, we need to build on this idea. Just like most fighting games, pushing a different button or a team battle will change the character's color palette. These include a blue and red Toguro, and a Jin palette swap that makes him look like Super Saiyan Goku. My son and I fought that Jin in a battle royal and he destroyed us. This game is just fun, and you don't need to be a fan of Yu Yu Hakusho to enjoy it. Treasure made arguably one of the best fighters on the Genesis here. Unfortunately, just like McDonald's Treasureland Adventure, this game is a licensed property, and it's not on any recent collections or available for digital purchase. You'll have to go with other means to play this. Alien Soldier was first released in Japan on February 24th, 1995, and in June of the same year in PAL territories. We got this one here in North America in 1995 on the Sega channel. That's how I played it as a kid. As I got older, I was surprised to hear that Alien Soldier didn't get a North American release, as well as games like Golden Axe 3 and Mega Man The Wily Wars. Those were also a couple Sega channel exclusives. In Alien Soldier, you play as Epsilon Eagle, a superpowered soldier of some sort, and he's going up against 11 Tiger. According to the game's intro, apparently 11 Tiger needs to assassinate Epsilon Eagle to liberate the space-time continuum? Or something like that. I'll tell you one thing though, if you read this intro, you'll laugh. Check out this extreme title screen. Visual shock, speed shock, sound shock. Now is the time to the 68,000 heart on fire. Alien Soldier. For Mega Driver's Custom. This game is a boss run mode with some short run and gun sections. It's also really hard. There are two difficulty settings, super easy and super hard. There's no super normal. You're either a dweeb or a hardcore gamer, dig it? I played on super easy and this game was still super hard. Just like Gunstar Heroes, you choose your weapon. In Alien Soldier, you can choose 4. Each has limited ammo though. Epsilon Eagle has some abilities too. He can counterattack, float with his jetpack, and dash across the screen. That dash is the most useful and necessary of his abilities. While dashing, Epsilon is invulnerable. These bosses are huge, so they'll be coming towards you with no escape but to dash past them. The game definitely has some crazy and strange enemies and bosses. This game gets easier the more you play. It takes a little time to get the patterns down and get used to the controls. When you have full health, Epsilon and his life bar flash. He gets one super dash that I was able to one-shot the first boss with. Alien Soldier has fast and furious gameplay with great controls, graphics, and music. It continues Treasure's trend of new original IPs. It's also on a lot of Sega collections. Definitely give it a shot if you've never played it. Like Crusader was first released in Japan on May 26, 1995, next released in South Korea on July 22, 1995, then in PAL territories in August 1995, also released in North America on October 25, 1995, and in Australia in 1995. Like Crusader is an isometric action RPG. You play as the dorky Sir David, a great and powerful dorky swordsman. The king needs David's help. The townspeople are disappearing. It's up to David to rescue the town and find out why the townspeople are vanishing. This game has its fans. I'm not one of them though. The game has an isometric view, and David's reach on his sword feels really short. It's not a bad game. I don't hate it. It's just one of those games I've tried multiple times and I can never really get into it. This game lets you push objects and people. There are puzzles in the game that use this mechanic. One puzzle I solved was moving the royal court. There are plenty of items to buy and equip. Treasures can be found while dungeon crawling. There are many fantasy-themed monsters and bosses lurking around. There's platforming in this game too. It's a bit of a pain because of the game's angle. I mean, I can see the appeal. It's just not for me. Still, check it out. As I said earlier, this game does have its fans.
That was all 6 treasure games on the Genesis. Do you have any memories of these games? If you do, leave them down in the comments below. Here's another question for you. Would you like to see a follow-up video going over treasure games on the 5th console generation? If you do, leave them down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Please like if you liked it. Please subscribe. Peace.